Hey guys, Coach Victor Robledo. Today we're going to talk about, boom, the steel mace. Everyone wants to add it to their arsenal. No one knows the progressions on how to do it or exactly what weight they need to pick. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, if you didn't know me and you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I'm Coach Victor Robledo. I've been a strength and conditioning coach for almost 30 years, and I'm here to help guys regain that zest. I'm also here to help you guys understand that your workout doesn't need to look like what you might have thought it needed to look like before. You need a few tools, you need to flip triggers, you need to get that shift so that you get your endocrinology, your blood sugar management, and you're maintaining or increasing strength depending on your goals. And that doesn't take a whole lot. What it takes is motivation and having a good understanding of why you're doing it and how to do it. If you like this video, please subscribe, turn on the bell notifications. I'm going to start adding a ton of content to help you. Also, leave any questions you might have down in the comments below. I love to read those and give you guys some feedback and be inspired to connect with my audience. So I just got this beautiful 15-pound steel mace from ONNIT, and it's a great addition to our home gym here. And truthfully, I do a ton of halos with all of my clients. The mace is a step up in intensity because of the length of the lever arm. So always keep that in mind. A lot of people want to get into some of this, put this in their gym and start integrating it. I love it because it adds a lot of functional strength, adds mobility to my shoulders, and ties in all that fascia of my anterior chain and posterior chain, really. And so I'm going to show you some simple steps and progress to this, that to give you guys a quantifiable weight on what you need to use. Make sure you wait to the end of this video so I can tell you about what weight you need to use. This is a 15-pounder here, but that doesn't give you a reference as to what you need to start off with. Just understand the physics of the length of the lever arm here. Understand you don't need much, especially when the movement is the halo movement. So let's start off with the first step on progression of this. If you've never done any halo movements, we always want to start off with a dumbbell. A dumbbell movement is a great place to start. We want to start off with the weight, holding the dumbbell just in front of the body here and rotating around, right? As you become more and more comfortable with this motion, you can add speed and tempo. What's nice about this motion, as I extract it away, is that we're going through that internal and external rotation of the shoulder, which adds mobility. Most of my guys, especially when they come and see me, if you can't lift your arms to this position, you're going to struggle with anything that you're taking behind the head. And so there's going to be this sort of turtle head action that's happening. This is not all that healthy. What we want to be able to do with these motions is do it in these patterns, nice and open and movement, so that you're tying in the muscle groups that you want. So what's working when we do this? Well, internal external rotation of the shoulders, right? As well as bracing through the core. So as you're moving, even though this is not moving side to side, you're bracing through your internal obliques and especially the fascia that ties in the entire body. So that ripple, as you're adding momentum, is going through the entirety of the body. Even the legs get a little bit of work. This is why it's incredibly valuable, either as a warm-up, which I use it a lot of times, or as part of a circuit to kind of give you energy and power that you need. So the first step was the dumbbell. Once you have that down, you're rotating through slow motion here, bracing and controlling, changing directions, as always here, right? The next progression is to take it to the kettlebell. And for the longest time, that's what I've been using. Variety of different weights on the kettlebell, but always start off light so that you get the motion and make sure that your shoulders can tolerate it. So in front of me here, in front of you guys here, I have a 35-pounder, same thing, held here, rotated around and around. Fluid, controlled, tightening up, right? So we're tightening up through the oblique wall as we're rotating through this motion to both directions. That's the second progression. As we get into your mace, let's say you have your mace, where do you start with this thing? Well, you'll notice real carefully here, it's got a couple neural points that they tend to put in. Those are great start points, but I have to say, when you're first starting that halo motion, it's better to choke up and put both hands near the top. So I'm near the top half, I'm above the halfway point on the handle when I start this. Now, a lot of people will start off right here because it's a little longer. And then from here, we're doing the same thing. I'm gonna keep it slow so that you see it. I also have a little bit better leverage with my hands. Same motion. As you get more and more comfortable, the tempo picks up. Now the pattern changes a little bit because of the length of the lever arm. So where as a kettlebell or dumbbell tends to stay high, here I'll come outside a little bit more with the mace. Now, as you start to get the gist of it and get more comfortable, you can come lower and lower till you're down on that lower knurling point, right? And a great idea before you start getting into this, I've already had this a little bit of time, so I'll have a tendency to just kind of take it behind the shoulders and loosen up the shoulders here in this fashion before I go to make sure that that elbow shoulder line is open. Again, that's one of those big deal breakers. If you feel like your elbows can't get high, you need to open up the shoulders before you start swinging stuff around, because otherwise it's going to pull that tissue and create an injury. So as you start to get more and more confident, you can come lower. Now we're down closer to the bottom third. I start off chest, good posture, right? Shoulders are braced, abs are pulled in tight, coming around. Good. As you get more and more comfortable, bring it down lower. So that's beginner progressions for your steel mace. Start off light. Now let's quantify it. So as it stands right now, I'm about a 315 bench press, 450 on my deadlift, and I'm probably 25 on my dead hang pull-ups, and I'm using about a 15 pounder and getting some great work. Could I go potentially heavier? Yes, but I like to use this movement as a warm-up or add to part of my circuit, especially for my jiu-jitsu. It does wonders to do this thing in lots of different patterns, and we'll get into that as we move along in this steel mace series. But that is the progression that I like to use. Most of my guys, I like to think about what they might use for a lateral raise, a controlled lateral raise, not a heave, and that's probably the best start point for the weight on your mace. So I like to use about 15s for my lateral deltoid work, nice and controlled discipline. On the outside, maybe 20 pounders. Based on that, it'll give you an estimation. You kind of got my bench press and deadlift, so I am bracing through my legs and core. That is important. If you're struggling a little bit with your core, have low back injuries, shoulders, please message me. We can set up a consult and I can give you some extra attention so that you can get to these movements that bring you more bang for your buck and get the results that you need and get to feeling that joie de vivre, that zest that is absolutely critical.